high. I'm sure it's happened to you as well. Like when you're trying to find an idea for something, like really focusing on trying to find an idea. Like I'll waste hours browsing the internet trying to find a cool idea, but nothing will come out of it. It's almost as if focusing on finding a good idea will prevent me from finding a good idea. Obviously, that makes no sense. Except, what if I told you that based on science, this is exactly what's happening? Neuroscientists have figured out how creativity works in your brain, and it's completely different from what most people think. What I'm about to show you will completely change how you approach every creative project from now on. Because once you just understand what happens in your brain while this process is going on, while you're being creative, you can trigger it on command. And this isn't some like feel-good motivational stuff. This is hard science. Brain scans, neural networks, measurable results. And the crazy part, just like myself before I found this out, you've probably been doing the complete opposite of what your brain actually needs to be creative. Let's fix that. So here's the first piece of our puzzle. Your brain has something called the default mode network, or DMN for short. It sounds kind of complicated, but I swear it's actually pretty simple. You can think of this network as the creative mode in like Minecraft, you know, where all the possibilities are available to you. There's no limits, you can do whatever you want. And that creative mode happens to always be active when you're not focused on anything specific. Like when you're daydreaming, letting your mind wander, taking a shower, just going for a walk. That's when the default mode network, or your creative mode, lights up. And what's crazy, well, maybe not that crazy, but this network is crucial for creativity. Neuroscientists have found that the people with the most creative ideas also have the most active default mode networks. It's like your brain's creativity headquarters. But here's where most artists mess up, myself included. We actually try to force creativity when we're in this focus work mode, and that's when a completely different network is active. This one called the executive attention network, or again with the Minecraft comparisons, that would be kind of like the survival mode, you know, where you're focused, goal-oriented, following specific objectives. That network is great for execution, for technical work, for following instructions, but it's garbage at coming up with new ideas. So in a way, it's kind of like trying to have a conversation with somebody where there's really loud ambient music. Those two networks just interfere with each other, so when one is active, the other one isn't. Now, before I go into how you can actually take control of this and, you know, turn this into an advantage, scientists have actually identified 3 different networks when it comes to creativity, and just like understanding them is the same as getting the cheat codes to your own brain. So first, there's the default mode network. The first one we saw, the equivalent to creative mode in Minecraft. That's your idea generator. It connects random thoughts, makes unexpected associations, and comes up with novel combinations. This is where those like aha moments will usually come from. Second, there's the executive attention network, or again, just like survival mode in Minecraft. That network will evaluate ideas, figure out if they're worth pursuing, and then plan on how to execute them. This is kind of like your inner critic, but the good kind. And now the third one is called the salience network. That's kind of like the traffic controller. It'll decide when to switch between the other 2 networks. It'll notice when you've had a good idea, and then it'll signal to the brain to pay closer attention to it. But here's the thing, most people will never let those networks do the job that they're supposed to do. They'll try to generate and evaluate ideas all at the same time, which will kind of create this creative traffic jam in your brain. So, of course, what is the right approach? Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Those old creativity researchers, you know, from decades ago that came up with the creative process, the 4 stages of the creative process, well, they were actually onto something. Except now we know exactly what happens in the brain during those stages. So the 4 stages are preparation, incubation, illumination, and verification. Preparation will be when your executive attention network will be fully active, your survival mode, like focus mode. Maybe you're gathering information, learning new stuff, studying references. Your brain is basically building up a library of raw materials for your creativity. Scientists call this knowledge saturation, where you're literally filling up your neural databases. Next, incubation is the magic stage. And this is where most artists will screw up. For this, you have to completely disengage your executive attention network, your survival mode, and instead let your default mode network, your creative mode, take completely over. This is going to mean no focused work, no problem solving, no trying to force ideas. Your brain needs to be in diffuse mode. And that's just a scientific term for letting your mind wander. Studies have shown that people who take breaks and let their minds wander have more creative solutions than people who keep grinding. Your brain's actually making like new connections during this downtime. The third stage, the elimination stage, is where your salience network will take over. And it'll go, hey, pay attention to this. It's that light bulb moment when ideas suddenly appear. Scientists can actually see this happening in brain scans. There's this sudden burst of activity across multiple regions of the brain all at once. And all of this leads us to the verification stage, where it goes back to the executive attention network, your survival mode, your focus mode. Now you'll test the idea, refine it, and see how to make it work. It's basically when you go from idea to execution. So it's kind of unfortunate that all of this is not more broadly known. Everything in our culture kind of fights against this natural creative process. We're told to push through, to grind harder, to stay focused, and all of that actually makes you less creative. Social media is creativity poison because it never lets your default mode network activate, your creative mode. You're constantly consuming new information and never really letting your brain process what you already have. The always be productive mindset kills creativity because it just doesn't allow for any incubation time. But then meanwhile, neuroscience shows that this unproductive time is actually when your brain does its most creative work. Also, most art education will completely ignore this stuff. They'll teach techniques and fundamentals, which is good, great for the execution stage, but they never teach you how to generate ideas systematically. And this is actually something that I kept in mind when I built my art program. The week-by-week study guide that it comes with is meant to provide the ideal pacing to go through all the content and assignments with frequent focus breaks to let your creative mode take over. You can find out all about it if you've been looking to take your art to the next level with the link in the video description. And lucky for you, the summer sale just started and you'll be able to get a huge discount for a little while. Check down below to know exactly when the sale ends so you won't miss out. We've reached past 28,000 students recently for a reason, and we also have an awesome private Discord for students only, a community full of artists motivated to level up their art, the perfect gang to join if you have the same goal. So here's how to actually use all of the science in your art practice. When you start a new project, spend serious time in preparation mode. Study references, gather inspiration, fill up your brain with raw materials. But then, and this is crucial, you have to walk away. Let your default mode network, your creative mode, take over. Don't try to force ideas during this incubation period. Just go do something completely unrelated. Exercise, clean, take a shower, go for a drive. No podcast though, no music with lyrics, nothing that requires focused attention. And then when an idea hits during the elimination stage, capture it quickly, but don't judge it yet. Your salience network now is just saying, hey, hold up. This might be interesting. Not like, this is definitely good, because then you'll switch back to your focus mode for verification. Test the idea, refine it, figure out if it's worth pursuing. Just understanding how your brain works and working along with it instead of against it will massively improve your creativity. And that's gonna wrap it up for this week's class. Have you noticed these patterns in your own creative process? Let me know in the comments what works for you when you try to come up with, good ideas. And now, while you eagerly wait for next week's class, you should check out my process for creating original characters. Maybe it'll help spark your creativity. The video will be up here in a second. I'll see you there.